Life was sweet, almost too sweet. For Abby, in the weeks and months following her whirlwind marriage to Harold, the premium spell had delivered exactly as promised. Harold was hers, body and soul, deaf to his children's pleas from abroad and blind to the whispers that followed them everywhere. He showered her with the kind of luxury she had only dreamed of while scrolling through Instagram late at night. Diamond necklaces that caught the light like captured stars, designer handbags from Paris trips she never thought she'd take, and a brand new Tesla. Sleek, silent, and electric parked in the villa's driveway like a trophy. Vacations to places like Dubai and the Maldives became routine. Harold booked first class tickets without a second thought, calling her my queen as he handed over his black card. On her first day back at the Ministry of Security after their extended honeymoon in Europe, Abby made sure the entire office felt her glow up. She pulled into the parking lot just after 8 a.m. The Tesla glided into a stop with that futuristic hum that turned heads. She stepped out slowly, letting the morning sun glint off her new diamonds. A chunky tennis bracelet on one wrist, chandelier earrings swaying with every step, and the massive wedding band sparkling on her left hand. She had chosen a tailored white pantsuit that hugged her figure, paired with sky-high Louboutins and a cloud of expensive perfume that trailed behind her like expensive smoke. Heads turned as she strutted through the corridors. Colleagues who once chatted with her casually now stared openly, some in awe, others in barely concealed disgust. Abby savored every second. "Good morning, everyone," she sang out, voice bright and loud enough to carry. "Just wanted to let you all know I'm back as Mrs. Harold Simpleton now." She held up her left hand. Fingers played dramatically, so the ring caught the fluorescent lights, flashing like a beacon. Every time she spoke, she gestured with that hand waving hello, pointing at a memo, tucking a non-existent strand of hair behind her ear, making sure the diamond wedding band stayed front and center. The office buzzed like a hive, disturbed. Whispers followed her down the hall. "How she moves so fast? Poor Marla." That poor man bewitched. Him old enough to be her father, but money talk louder than age. Tongues were on fire. The betrayal was the hottest topic in the break room, the bathrooms, even the WhatsApp groups that excluded Abby now. Quiet resentment simmered. Abby had done her very good friend dirty in the worst way, and no one could forget the way she'd schemed behind Marla's back. Abby, of course, made a point of stopping by Marla's desk. Marla was there, head down, over paperwork, trying to look busy. Abby leaned casually against the cubicle wall, perfume wafting forward. "Hi, Marla girl. Long time no see. How you holding up?" Marla looked up, her eyes red-rimmed, but steady. She forced a small, dignified smile. "I'm fine, Abby. Congratulations on your marriage. I wish you both happiness." Abby beamed wider, twisting the ring so it sparkled right in Marla's face. "Thank you, sweetie. Harold treats me like a princess. You know how it is when it's real. It's real." She lingered a moment longer, letting the words hang, then sauntered off with a little wave of her bejeweled hand. Marla held it together in front of everyone, but the embarrassment ate at her like acid. The constant pitying glances, the awkward silences when she walked into a room, the way people changed the subject when Harold's name came up, it was too much. Within a few weeks, she quietly requested a transfer to another branch of the ministry, one on the other side of the island. Better to start fresh somewhere. Her heartbreak wasn't daily office gossip. Abby, meanwhile, rode high on top of the world. She posted carefully curated photos on Instagram, her and Harold on a yacht, her hand on his chest showing off the ring, captions like, "Living my best life," hashtag Mrs. Simpleton, hashtag blessed. Likes poured in from distant acquaintances, but the close friend she once shared with Marla had gone silent. She didn't care. The villa overlooked the sea, the Tesla charged in the garage, and Harold doted on her like a man under a spell, which of course he was. The Ministry of Security's open-plan floor had never felt smaller, the air thicker with unspoken venom. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry insects, casting harsh shadows that made every glance feel accusatory. Abby's return was no longer just gossip. It had become theater, and she was the star, strutting, sparkling, untouchable. The whispers had hardened into something sharper. In the ladies' restroom, two clerks from accounts huddled at the sinks, voices low but fierce. "You see how she flashed that ring like she win lotto?" Marla still crying every night, you know. "Me hear say Harold not even answer Marla phone again, just ghost her like she never exist. That no normal." Abby a work or be upon him, plain and simple. Nobody changed so quick unless somebody tied them. The door swung open. Abby sailed in, heels clicking, perfume announcing her before she spoke. The two women froze mid-sentence. Abby caught their eyes in the mirror, smiled sweetly, too sweetly, and said, "Ladies, everything all right? You look like you see ghosts." She adjusted her necklace, letting the diamonds catch the light, then turned on her heel and left without waiting for an answer. The door closed behind her with a soft thud that felt like a slap. Back on the floor, tension coiled tighter. Marla's cubicle had become a kind of no man's land. People passed it quickly, eyes averted, as though grief were contagious. Yet Abby kept orbiting it like a shark scenting blood. At 11:17 a.m., she appeared again, this time carrying a small gift bag tied with gold ribbon. "Marla, sweetie," she called loudly enough for half the room to hear. "I brought you something from Bora Bora. Thought you might like a little souvenir." She set the bag on Marla's desk with exaggerated care. Inside, a cheap keychain shaped like a hibiscus flower, the kind sold at airport gift shops for $5 USD. The tag still read, "Made in China." Marla stared at it. The room held its breath. "Thank you, Abby," Marla said quietly, voice flat. She didn't touch the bag. Her fingers stayed curled around her mouth, knuckles pale. Abby leaned in, lowering her voice just enough to make it intimate and cruel. "You know, Harold says he's never been happier. We're talking about starting a family soon. Isn't that exciting?" She straightened, beaming at the silent audience of co-workers pretending to type. "Anyway, must run lunch plans with my husband." She walked away, humming, hips swaying, leaving the gift bag sitting there like an insult carved in plastic. That was the moment the dam cracked. Across the aisle, Simone, one of Marla's oldest work friends, stood up so fast her chair rolled back and hit the wall. "Enough," she said, voice carrying. Heads turned. Even Abby paused at the copier, glancing over her shoulder. Simone marched to Marla's desk, picked up the keychain bag between two fingers like it was contaminated, and dropped it into the trash bin with a theatrical clatter. "You no have to take that from nobody, Marla." "Not today, not ever." A murmur rippled through the floor, agreement, relief, a spark of defiance. Abby turned fully now, smile faltering for the first time. "Excuse me?" Simone met her gaze without blinking. "You heard me? Yeah? Coming here every day parading like you win something, rubbing salt in your own friend wound. But you forget people talk and people remember." Another co-worker, Devon from IT, stood up slowly. "And when your man eye open, and it will open, You better hope him no remember how you get him. The room went electric. No one shouted, no one needed to. The words landed like stones in still water, ripples spreading. Abby's face flushed beneath her foundation. For a split second, the spell's confidence cracked. She looked smaller, caught. Then she recovered, lifting her chin. Jealousy is a terrible look, y'all. Enjoy your little gossip circle. I have a villa and a husband waiting. She spun on her heel, but the click of her shoes sounded different now, hurried, less triumphant. Marla never looked up. She simply opened her email, clicked on the transfer approval confirmation that had arrived that morning, and began quietly archiving her files. But her shoulders were straighter than they'd been in weeks. Outside, in the parking lot at lunch, Abby sat in her Tesla with the windows up, engine off, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles hurt. Her phone buzzed Harold, sending heart emojis and a voice note. Can't stop thinking about you, my love. She played it once, twice, trying to feel the rush again. But the recording sounded tinny, distant, like it belonged to someone else's life. Back inside, Simone leaned over Marla's partition and whispered, "Yeah? Transfer come through yet?" Marla nodded once. 2 weeks. Simone squeezed her shoulder. Good. Let her have the spotlight. It burns hotter the closer you get to the sun. Across the office, someone's phone pinged with a new group chat message. A grainy photo circulated. Abby's Tesla in the lot, captioned, "Queen of the parking lot, for now." Laughter, soft, bitter, determined, rippled through the cubicles. Abby felt none of it. Not yet. But the air had changed. The spell still held Harold in its grip. The villa still gleamed. The diamonds still sparkled. Yet something invisible had shifted, like the first faint rumble of thunder on a supposedly perfect day. The Obeah warning wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It simply waited, patient, inevitable. A few months after the wedding bells faded and the honeymoon glow dimmed into routine luxury, Abby began to feel the villa's vast rooms echo a little too loudly. The infinity pool sparkled. The staff moved like silent shadows. Harold's credit card still flowed like water, but something was missing, or rather, someone. She waited until a quiet Sunday evening. Harold was on the terrace, sipping rum punch and watching the sun melt into the sea, his face softer than it had been in the early days of the spell. The initial feverish obsession had settled into something steadier, almost comfortable, though the unnatural glaze never fully left his eyes. Abby curled up beside him on the cushioned wicker sofa, resting her head on his shoulder. "Harold, baby, there's something I've been thinking about." He turned, attentive as always. "Anything, my love, you know that." She took a slow breath, letting her voice drop into that vulnerable register she'd practiced in the mirror. "My daughter, Kenzie, she's 12 now. She's been living with my mother all these years since she was a baby, really. My ex, well, he was never around. Mama's done her best, but she's getting older, and Kenzie's getting bigger. I want her here, with us, with you." Harold blinked once, processing. For a heartbeat, Abby's pulse spiked. Would the spell stretch this far? Would it allow room for another bond, one not forged in oils and powders? But Harold only smiled, gentle and genuine. "Of course she should come live with us. She's your daughter, Abby. That makes her family. We'll make sure she has everything she needs. School, activities, her own room, whatever it takes." Relief flooded Abby so fast she almost laughed aloud. She kissed him deeply, murmuring thanks against his lips, while inside she marveled at how neatly the pieces kept falling into place. Within 2 weeks, the arrangements were made. Abby's mother, worn but proud, packed Kenzie's small suitcase with tears in her eyes and a quiet warning. Take care of me, baby Abby. Don't let this fancy life turn your head too much. Abby hugged her tightly, promising everything would be perfect. Kenzie arrived on a Saturday morning in a pretty summer dress, borrowed from a cousin, braids neat, eyes wide as saucers. At the sight of the villa, she was small for 12, with Abby's high cheekbones and a shy smile that hadn't yet learned cynicism. She clutched a worn stuffed turtle named Shelley, the only thing she refused to let the staff carry. Harold met her at the front door himself. No driver, no fanfare. He crouched to her level, voice warm and unhurried. Kenzie, right? I'm Harold. Welcome home. Kenzie studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. Thank you, sir. He chuckled. Just Harold is fine. Come, let me show you your room. The room Abby had prepared was a preteen paradise. Pale lavender walls, a canopy bed draped in white mosquito netting, a desk already stocked with new notebooks and colored pens, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sea. Kenzie's mouth fell open. She set Shelley carefully on the pillow as though afraid to disturb the magic. That first evening, Harold cooked not the staff, but him jerked chicken and festival on the outdoor grill, while Kenzie watched from a safe distance. He asked her simple questions. Favorite subjects, science and art. Favorite color, turquoise. Did she like to dance? When she nodded shyly, he promised her classes, the best dance academy in Montego Bay, the one the Prime Minister's granddaughter attended. Within days, Kenzie was enrolled at Jamaica's most exclusive private school in St. James. Uniforms tailored, books brand new, a driver waiting each morning in the Bentley instead of the school bus. After classes came ballet and modern dance lessons 3 times a week, then piano on Saturdays. She wore the same designer sneakers and carried the same monogram backpack as the children of diplomats and hotel magnates. The perks were endless, and Abby basked in the glow of providing them, posting carefully curated photos. My princess thriving, #blessed, #family first. But the real surprise, the part even Abby hadn't anticipated, was Harold's affection for the girl. It wasn't forced. It wasn't glazed over with obia haze. It was quiet, steady, real. He helped with homework at the dining table, patiently explaining fractions while Abby scrolled Instagram in the next room. He attended every dance recital, sitting in the front row with a proud smile, clapping louder than anyone when Kenzie executed her first perfect pirouette. On weekends, he took her snorkeling in the shallows off the villa's private beach, pointing out parrotfish and sea fans, laughing. When she squealed at a curious octopus, he never once spoke of her as Abby's daughter. To him, she was simply Kenzie, his girl. One evening, after Kenzie had gone to bed, Harold found Abby on the terrace. He sat beside her, staring out at the dark water. She's a good kid, he said softly. Smart, kind, reminds me of my youngest back in England before everything changed. Abby felt a flicker of something unfamiliar, unease, perhaps. You really like her, don't you? Harold turned to her, eyes clear for once. I love her, like she's my own, and I'm grateful you brought her here. Abby smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. She hadn't planned for this. The spell had been meant to bind Harold to her, not to create a new, untouchable bond with a child who carried none of the Obia's fingerprints. Kenzie, for her part, began to bloom. The shy girl who'd arrived clutching a stuffed turtle now walked taller, laughed more freely, called Harold Dad one accidental time during dinner, and neither of them corrected her. The word hung in the air like a small, perfect bell ringing true. Abby watched from across the table, champagne flute in hand, smile fixed. On the surface, everything was flawless, the villa, the wealth, the picture perfect family. But deep down, in the quiet spaces where spells don't reach, something new had taken root. A love that owed nothing to oils, powders, or whispered incantations. And in Jamaica, where roots run deep and karma keeps meticulous accounts, that kind of love could prove more powerful and more dangerous than any tying spell ever cast. Want more stories? Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Like and share our videos. Thank you for watching.